Hi, everybody, and welcome to this lovely, lovely Friday night at the lounge. How's everybody doing? Give me a nice, warm hello. It's a Friday night. Don't be sitting there all shy. Let me know you're here in the comments. Say hello, what's going on, just so I know you're here. I'll give you a shout out. It's awesome. It's Valentine's Day weekend. Well, it's not Valentine's Day, it's Valentine's Day weekend. We're getting ready for Valentine's Day. So I know that everybody has all sorts of feelings, all sorts of questions. You're thinking about your love life. You're going through all sorts of stuff. And what better place to be than the lounge tonight? And what better guest to have with us but the one, the only relationship expert, strategist, love doctor, Women Men Adore author. I mean, he's been with us from the beginning. If you guys didn't tune in to Intuitive Radio, that was a while ago. You can go on your favorite podcast streaming site, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. You'll get Intuitive Radio. You'll hear Bob Grant through the entire season. And he just is a wealth of knowledge and inspiration and information. So if you are interested in getting those real details and specifics about your love life answered, the tips, the tricks, what's going on in your love life, if you have a question, right? So, a lot of people are going through the same cycles over and over and over again with the same person. Or you might be like dating one person and you find yourself with the emotionally unavailable person over and over again. Or you're in a relationship where you're trying to get somebody to change, they won't change, and you're changing and you're kind of pushing and pull, dragging in sail. And you're like, why am I accepting crumbs here? Right? So if you're in a relationship where you're like doing all the work and they're not doing anything, or they're like just disappearing on you or not texting you back, not calling you, and you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, this is the place to be. So, Lori, darling, you're always on. Hello. Nice to see you. Also, I want to let everybody know that you guys have a chance to come on live tonight with myself and Bob Grant and ask your personal question. So if you want to come on live and get your love life assessed, that means you want Bob to check in with you, give you some of his best advice, and you want me to intuitively tune into you, we can. So you just have to send us your email, your question in the chat, and Helen, who's our show producer, will be sending you a link to come backstage on the show. And yes, you will be on with your video. You do have to use a desktop, though. If you're on mobile, it's not going to work as well. So you will have the opportunity to come on the show. So if you have a question about your relationship, I don't care if you're 25 or 65, you can ask a question, okay, about your love life. Please let us know if you'd like to come on. Just a couple announcements before we get started. All right. Reminder, get on the link in the video for my monthly energy forecast going out the 15th of this month. If you miss the 15th, you're not going to get this month. I go over every key day of the month when it's best to make your key decisions in love, romance, health, career, all those things. You need to look at timing. So make sure that you're on our email list or you will not get the video because it is private, it's not public, and you have to be an email subscriber. Again, it goes out on the 15th of every month, and you have to get on before the 15th to get that month's forecast. Also, intuitive development course wait list. It is being edited. I'm getting ready to launch. And if you are on our wait list, you're going to get special promotions, special deals, special bonuses. So make sure that you join that notification list. The link is in the video. So yeah, make sure that you do those two things. Let's see. So we have Megan on. Hi, Megan. Oh, you'd love to come on the show? That is great. I just need you to put your email into the chat, and we will send you a link to get on the show. Awesome. So without further ado, I want to talk about my lovely guest, Bob Grant. He's back. The one and only author, relationship coach, expert, Bob Grant. Our listeners have received some wonderful advice on his live appearances, and now he's going to bring us even more love secrets and tips to the show tonight. So you have a love question, need to find out how to break a difficult pattern, have someone in mind for the big love day, but not sure if they feel the same way about you. Bring the questions. Bob will bring the answers. Bob is a clinically trained relationship expert who's been working with high-achieving women since 1997. His relationship expertise has been featured on Digital Romance, Savvy Miss, Galtime, Believe.net, and YourTango.com, just to name a few. Bob's coaching programs help high achieving women experience the same level of success in their relationship as they do in all other areas of their life. Also, Bob's program, The Women Men Adore and Never Want to Leave. This has been going on a long time. This is his signature program. He is going to be offering you guys, just you guys, viewers of the lounge, like all of our guests do, a very special and enticing, awesome bonus to get his program tonight. You won't believe what he's going to offer. So without further ado, I will be bringing on Bob Grant. Let's welcome him to the show. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Marisa. Thank you for that. It's nice to be here again.
I know. You've been with us for quite some time here.
Mm-hmm.
So how's everything
Always
going?
A good time.
It's always a good time. Let me just, oh, there you are. Sorry. All right. Awesome. So tell everyone who doesn't know you yet, Bob. I know we did a little introduction here. Did I give an accurate introduction, or is there stuff you kind of like our audience to know about you?
No, I appreciate the introduction, and you're right. For whatever reason, it ended up being that women, professional women, with the stuff I was teaching, it really resonated with them. And probably our biggest thing now is we have a class. We teach women about their emotions and just how critical they are to achieving everything in relationships, because when they're detached from their emotions, it stymies everything. It doesn't matter how hard they try, how hard they work. And so that's some of the breakthroughs in there have just been fantastic. So when you have those things where you realize this is what I was meant to do, this is the one. It came from the Women Men Adore. So we took the Women Men Adore and just kind of went real much deeper with it. So very excited about that.
That's awesome. And could you tell, like, I have the Women Men Adore up here, and the first sentence says, what makes a man's heart race whenever you get near? It's your emotions. And it says, I'll show you how to use your emotions to captivate a man. And I know for me, I feel a little bit like weak showing my emotions, right? I'd rather talk about, because, I'm an entrepreneur. I like you said, you help high achieving women. And high achieving women, we like to we feel sometimes showing emotion might come off to a man as needy, or like, oh, like why is she being so girly, and was she showing us their emotion? But there's probably a right and a wrong way to do that. And maybe we think that showing our emotion, getting mad or angry, like all those kind of things maybe we're not showing our emotion correctly.
Yeah, so a lot of what we do, because what we did in the course is I've got it where there's a journal, and we go over this time, and I get to talk to people in their journal, because like we're talking now, people are going to tell me something in their journal, the real stuff comes out. And I'm amazed how many women are brutal with how they talk to themselves. That's all of you ladies watching. Brutal. They would never say the stuff to other people they say to themselves.
What do you mean?
And when they're, and the problem they do that then is that, and I tell them, I say, men will treat you the same way you treat your emotions. Because if I'm guarded and stuff and pinch off part of me, a man's going to pick up on that. He's not going to know. He's not going to say what I'm saying now, how you treat your emotions. He's not going to do that.
Yeah, like he's not going to know that, right?
He's not going to know that, but he's going to pick up on it, because there's a guardedness and a cautiousness that men will pick up, and they don't know how to describe it. Because when I have permission for all my emotions, that doesn't mean they're in charge. We don't want that. In the same way, but I use an example with women. I say, I could bring you a little girl, your daughter, niece, or just a stranger, 7, 8 years old, and she'd be crying, and you'd know what to do. Or if she was upset, but if I took you talking to your heart, you'd go, stop it, quit. We don't have time for this. Let's grow up. And I'd go, you'd never treat, a little girl like it. And it doesn't mean you just sit there and do everything she wanted, but you would take care of her. And that's how we set boundaries. That's how we are kind to ourselves. It's women know how to do this. They're just good at doing it for other people. And then when I get in a relationship, I'm generalizing, the feeling is, when is it my turn? When is it my turn? Because I'm empty. And that ends up putting a lot of pressure on a man, or attracting men. This leads into one of our things we're talking about. Attracting men that the sharks or the wolves that love a challenge. Love a challenge. Problem with those guys is, once the challenge is over with, okay, I'm done.
So, we had, I won't name names, but we had somebody on it in the past, and she would attract emotionally unavailable men. And she kept getting rid of that one and saying, okay, I'm going to pick a totally different type of guy. And the next time she'd be like, oh, it's good. This is a different type of guy. And then now I talked to her a year later and she's like, I'm still picking emotionally unavailable men. And she like loved the advice you gave her. And she's like, Bob's advice was amazing. I just don't know how to stop doing it. So why do people keep going in patterns, even though they have this great advice, they have this great mentorship? Why can't they stop?
So let's give, as you're saying, let's give an example. Is if someone says, I'm going to stop binge eating, I'm going to stop binge eating, but then they starve themselves for a day at a time. I'm like, you're going to binge eat if you keep starving.
Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, you're going to just gorge when you keep starving yourself a day at a time. So they push it to the edge. When they get angry, I don't want to be angry. That's mean and horrible. So I push that feeling down. And the problem is what you push down fights for survival. And whether it's anger, sad, silly, I don't care what feelings they are, because they're just feelings. They're just feelings. I tell folks, I say when they're sad, I'm like, you're not sad, you're feeling sad. And we go through this, and there's a big difference. Because what I feel is not who I am. And because women, I think, are so wired with thinking and feeling, and the pattern is, whoever this, I know you're talking about, but just who shall be nameless, is that all the intentions in the world, you still come up to that point of willing to be vulnerable with yourself. It's a little scary, I'll be the first to admit, but intimacy is scary at times. But I can't let a man be intimate with him if I'm not intimate with me, which means I'm not going to let him see parts of me that I'm not willing to look at. Just no. And I'm going to be guarded, and even though I don't want to, and I'm going to be attracted to what's familiar. So the unavailable man, the fun thing about that, this is how clever your brain is. The fun thing about him is that part of me knows I'm never going to end up with him. So he's safe. I can want him horribly. I can go after him. I can pour my heart into him. I can be disappointed because this unconscious part of me already knows, this ain't gonna work out.
Yeah, I could say that I've done that before, Bob. I've picked men who I knew I wasn't going to end up with, and they were like completely, but I could like experience my full range of experience. And some men, I mean, weren't even like, I over the years, like this wasn't the case at that point, but some of those men ended up not being heterosexual. So I would attract myself to very safe, more effeminate men who said they were straight, but I would be like, okay, like why? And it's because I felt safe, like that they're not going to hurt me because I know this is not going to work. Is that what you're saying?
That is, and folks think when they say that, they're like, oh, I won't do that, as though they can control it simply by thinking.
Right.
Thinking is safe. I love thinking. It's wonderful. But when there's a pattern involved, it involves our emotions. And there's only so far we can go with just thinking. That's why with the high achieving women I talk with, they're great at thinking. It's not that they don't feel. It's that the beauty of thinking is I can achieve stuff. I can point in a certain direction. I can accomplish goals, good stuff. But then when a relationship comes along, it's like, this feels a little scary. This feels a lot of control. I want to think about this. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the relationship. It doesn't go anywhere with that because I'm trying to talk about being scared. Men respond to a woman's emotions. What men don't like is when women blame a man. I'm scared because you're an idiot. Well, I'm not an idiot. Yes, you are. And see, that's not
right.
Someone will say, I'm just sharing how I'm feeling. And if you listen to them, they're going, he's an idiot, he's stupid, he's mean. That's not how you're feeling. You're projecting at that point. Because see, that's not vulnerable. It's whatever. I'm scared, or I'm angry with you, I'm upset. In our class, one of the things I get women do is to treat their emotions literally like each emotion is a little person. And they're like, I'm like, and then we start trying it. The first couple of weeks, this is what happens. Am I doing it right? Is this how it's supposed to feel? They're just like lost. But then they start to get epiphanies. I had one person that just said, she was telling me she was abused for years. And for the last few years, she's always slept with the light on. She does this for 2 weeks. And she tells me, Bob, it was weird. The other night, I realized I cut the light off because I didn't think about it. She finally felt safe because all those emotions she was pushing down, now she's not trying to drown them, and her fears died down. See, the weird thing is when we feel stuff, the intensity dies down. The fear is if I feel stuff, it's going to take over. That's what a lot of women tell me. And when they say, how do I be more attractive or appealing to men? Why am I unavailable guys? I'm like, the way through this is a lot of what you do, is to look inside, not to get too hocus pocus, but it really,
Right.
because men, they don't know how to describe it, but they feel it, they pick up on it. And women I've seen that are good at this, you can catch them on a bad day. They don't feel sexy or attractive. They're like, just feel kind of, and they still glow. It's not about being positive. Positive is really overrated. Positive's nice, but it's not being positive and strong and anymore. What women really like in men is those times of strong men that can be vulnerable at times.
Mm.
And that makes a woman real when she can do that too.
So a lot of your work is revolves around women who are high achieving, from what I'm reading. What's the difference between women who are high achieving and women who aren't? And why do you choose to work with women who are high achieving?
Because someone that's high achieving, they have accomplished certain things. And what that tells me is they've done it in spite of good days or bad, in spite of things being fair or unfair. And I've got a real thing. I like to win. I don't mean like dominate, but I mean, I want someone to get it. I want someone to experience this. I want it. Once they tell me their goal, that's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so someone high achieving is more likely to be like, okay, the path is probably not going to be what I think it is. It's probably going to be different. Someone that's either younger or struggling more usually has this is what I want, and this is the way it's going to happen. I'm like, well, maybe, but probably not, because you've been doing that for a couple of years and it's not working.
Right.
Probably like the person you mentioned earlier. So that's what I look for in like is someone that's accomplished, because if they're invested, not just with me in it, we'll get there. I don't necessarily know the path for them, but we'll get there. But this is the place I'm going to take them, is when we start looking inside, because that's the secret sauce for women.
So the high achieving part is that that they persisted, because when you do own a business, and I've owned a business 25 years, it's like sometimes you just have to you have to change. You can't just be like, oh, this didn't work, and you just lay down.
And they're and like you, they're very result oriented. I mean, think with COVID and all that, you having to reinvent yourself or different medium, and that's the stuff that, because the breakthroughs occur when someone doesn't hold on so tightly to the way it's going to happen. They're just open to things might be different. The lady I mentioned, I mean, I didn't advertise like take my class and you'll cut the light off. I mean, I didn't do that, but for her, that's when she realized something really is changing inside. And I get excited because I know it's going to happen with men. When I hear something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, men are going to pick up on this.
Yeah. Now, what about I've talked to this person many times before, because this person also was a client of mine in the past. And what about the people that do have background with trauma or with divorce or with somebody in their past? I know she had people in their past that weren't faithful to her. So there was, this pattern to attract people that weren't available. But then I kind of challenged her and I'm like, well, do you think you're available? Because I know when I was attracting that, I don't think I was. I think if Bob Grant, if you said Marissa back 15 years ago, you know what? Screw these guys that are just, like being unavailable jerks. I'm going to send you. I have the perfect guy on paper. He's got the great job. He's for you. We did a personality assessment, and he shows up at my door 15 years ago. And you're like, all right, he's ready to get married. All right, the flowers, I'm ready. I probably would have ran for the hills. It would have freaked me out. I'd be like, this guy's weird. Like, what's So it's like, do you think that the background has a part to play? And I know for me, it wasn't easy to change my biological reactions to certain people. It was you know what I mean? So it's like, we have that mindset shift, but how can we, what are the actions that somebody who has those patterns needs to change to stop attracting and continuing to pursue the emotionally unavailable partner?
So it's probably, and from your experience, that those memories, I've talked to massage therapists that will, and I didn't realize this till I talked to a few of them and started hearing this pattern, that sometimes they'll be massaging someone and they'll hit a spot and the person freaks out And the ones that have done this for all realize they've got trauma in that part of their body.
I
I'm
see.
like, oh, so your brain really stores it. So because of that, your brain does it as a way of protecting you. So it won't be a quick thing to do. I don't mean like it has to take years, but it really is like undoing a knot.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, your brain thinks she's protecting you. So it's not a stupid problem. So women, I'm just generalizing, if they make a stupid choice, they're not stupid. It really isn't a stupid thing they're doing. It's their brain's way of saying, I don't want you to get hurt again. But, you know, I know you want to get married, but you being safe is the biggest priority.
Yes.
And so they're fighting themselves.
Right.
So the reason why I take them in with emotions is when they start feeling whatever it is, if it's anger or bored or whatever, I'm like, every time you pinch off feelings, you keep your trauma bottled up inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know, they want to do like this one big cleansing. I'm like, you really don't want that. If you tried to do that in a day, honestly, you just fall to pieces. I mean, that's not a good thing.
Right.
And so some of it is, even if they're dating guys that aren't available, if you're talking to them or I am, it's all right, you know what you're doing. As much as they'll be persistent, it's pointing it out and reminding themselves, okay, what's familiar is going to keep you stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And not just with the guys, but also with certain feelings. So a lot of times I find is a lot of women do bad with being bored.
Yes.
Being bored.
Yes.
I'm like, got it. But see, boredom is the cure for anxiety.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, because if you practice being bored, I mean, no one likes being bored. Folks that are really anxious, what they do is they do all this kind of stuff, so they don't get bored. All this kind of stuff. Like I'm talking fast now, it's over here, and they get their mind all raced up because they don't want to slow down. They don't want to slow down and feel. But if I've got a little kid, I'm sitting across from a little girl, and she's sad, her puppy's died, she doesn't need me to be talking to her. She needs me to listen. What she wants is for me to sit there with her and just listen, because there's nothing magical to say. And heaven forbid I say your puppy's in heaven. Gosh, don't do that. So just sitting there. Yeah. And I learned this the hard way when I didn't have a lot of small kids I worked with. But just the fact of listening, that's what our emotions do too. When women are gracious with their emotions, it's okay to feel whatever, because feelings pass. That's a lot of times a fear. If I don't do something, this feel it's going to get stuck. It won't. And every time it passes, there's a healing that goes on. What you feel, you heal is a good motto.
Yeah, right. And your background, you're not just a relationship coach and author, like your background, you're a therapist, right?
Yes.
So, but it's not what you do now, but you have a clinical background.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you read some books and now you're a coach. Like you have actual, like years and years and decades of experience clinically. So you understand all of this stuff. And for some women, it is harder maybe than for those who have come from a healthy, modeled, and I mean, is it harder? Probably, I would assume, if you have somebody who saw a happy marriage for 50 years and parents who didn't fight and everybody was healthy, they're more in line to have a successful relationship than somebody who came from a chaotic household. Right?
Because they probably started a different place.
Right.
But like probably the folks that you work with also, remember, our goal is, if it's hard for someone or not, we don't care. We just care about the result.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a learning disability and I had to work harder in college. Who cares? I mean, I cared during college. It wasn't fun, but no one would know that now. And, now no one really know it unless I told someone.
Right.
And that's the thing with relationships. No one cares. So everyone has to work harder usually in some aspect. Mm-hmm. Someone that grows up with a family, everything was kind of wonderful. Well, if you dig in there, there's usually something once they get married in a relationship, they're like, oh, I never saw this. Now their adjustment may not be as much as someone that's gone through a lot of trauma, but the desire for the relationship is more important than the ability. Because with the desire, you'll try and experiment and poke around, and a lot of times folks can be in a relationship and kind of figure it out as they go along. I mean, we don't have to get everything resolved before we fall in love.
Right. Because I think from what I've seen with patterns in myself and my family and my clients, it seems like when the right person does come along, maybe those triggers even become more intense and you think, oh, I definitely am not with the right person. Yes. If they're triggered, I'm getting triggered, right?
Yeah. Do you know why?
Because you are closer to being vulnerable, I'm assuming.
Because your brain knows someone you fall in love with can hurt you. Someone unavailable can't hurt you. So the guy that dates the married woman, she's safe. I can spend money on her and pour my heart out. Or if I'm married and dating someone, all great. But the woman that I really like, she could hurt me because she can get close. The same with women. A man, he can get close. So my brain's like, lights up, scary over here. But I should be liking him. He's wonderful, right? He's wonderful. And the last person you trusted bit your rear end or cheated on you or something. And I remember that protective thing kicks in. So I always tell folks when someone wonderful comes along, I said, before it happens, let's just plan. You're probably going to freak out a little bit. We know this. Yeah. And everybody's like, yeah, right. And then when it happens, they're like, oh, I'm like, remember about a month ago we said, this is what I was talking about. They still freak out.
Yeah. And what you were saying before brought me to another question, because I have a group of women in one of my programs, and even women clients that I talk to, very high achieving women who have a husband. Okay. They think their husband's great. He's a great provider. They just, something's missing though in their connection. They're bored. And then they're wanting to go off and have an affair with another guy. And they're like worried about, but they're like, oh, but I have the best husband. It's like, what do you tell those people?
So the first question I always ask is, I say, what are you avoiding? Because usually there's something, and the initial response is, I'm not avoiding anything. And if you slow down with them, what are you avoiding? There's either some conflict or there's something, I don't know what it is, because you're right. I believe that probably is a wonderful husband. They're bored and restless because there's something they're avoiding. And what they're doing is, to avoid something, I have to shut off part of me. Whether it's a conflict, whether it's a deadline, whether it's a something over here. And that shutting off part also shuts off the connection with those we love. It keeps me safe. It's like numbing out. But there's a wall that I've created out of safety. And sometimes the thing they're avoiding is, I've seen this, I'm not picking on women, but I've seen wives want to be close to their husband, and then it happens, he's chasing her all over the place around the bedroom, and she shuts that down. She's not meaning to be mean. It freaks her out. As much as she wanted a husband, I don't mean just physically, but just pursuing her, all of a sudden it's overwhelming. It's just because at least with the one that's a little bit lazy, whatever, she's got it out. But all of a sudden now he's not, and she's like, what do I do with this man that is, puts his hands on me in public? Or he showed up with flowers. It sounds crazy, but that's the fear that's kicking into, is he's getting too close. No, not too close.
Right. Yeah. I guess what I'm hearing a lot is, well, what I'm hearing a lot with these women is just like, oh no, my husband's wonderful, but I'm bored. Like, he just doesn't want to do the things I want to do. He's not interested in the things I'm interested in. And I want to feel alive again. I want to feel like I have that rush. Like I feel, and they equate that boredom to meaning that it's not the right marriage or it's not the right fit.
Yeah. So with them, if we're talking to them, we're saying, okay, you're the woman, which means when you were single, you knew better than to leave this up to a man. Single women get this. You don't ever leave a relationship up to a man. Women have told me this for years. But then women get married, I'm generalizing, and they're like, okay, he'll know what to do. I'm like, no. Men are responders. It looks like men initiate. Men are the flame, but women are the spark. And so I ask them, I'm like, okay, you got a lot of stuff going on. Tell me how you flirt with your husband. I don't mean like you're 13, but tell me how, because he feeds off your signals. And that doesn't have to be a lot, because most of the time when they're bored with themselves.
Oh, that is good, Bob. Meaning that there's maybe not a creative passion or a purpose that they're pursuing in their own life.
I had one person, and it just came about, and we were talking, a client, and somehow it came up. She goes, she used to paint. How long has it been since she painted? About 10 years. Did you love it? Yeah, I used to really like it. How about let's pull out the paintbrush this week? I mean, I wish everything was that simple.
Yeah.
And here's a weird thing. So she starts doing this and feels more alive. Then she starts feeling anger because there's stuff about her husband that she needed to confront. But instead of confronting him, she just stopped painting. That was easier to do, to see, because if I stop painting, I stop feeling, which means I don't get angry and upset.
Mm.
So that's her way of numbing out. I don't want to confront my husband, but I don't want to feel this pain. I just, no, she didn't consciously do this. But when she started painting again, all of a sudden that anger that she had buried for 10 years, it wasn't horrible, but the problem, what made it bad was it had lingered so long.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that what he was doing was that big a deal to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, see, that awakened that part of her. Now we're talking intimacy. And then it's like, okay, this is how you bring it up. This is how you talk with him. Because it's not my job or yours to tell someone what they should see, as much as stop telling yourself you don't see what you see. Let's be careful about the interpretation. Maybe you're interpreting it wrong. But it starts with, I see this. Whether I'm overreacting or not, but at least I see it. And so she was bored with herself as a way of protecting herself from the conflict with her husband.
Wow. It's almost like she cut off the creative feminine part of herself. And yeah, it's like, I think some of the women, like they have that challenge of their career, and they have that challenge of, they made the money, they have the career, and then it's like, they don't know what else to do. And so it's like, how do I put this without, I don't know how to put this. It's kind of just like, why don't they know what to do? Like, why don't they realize that a man's not going to feel like that? It's almost like they go back to that, like, high school kind of like, oh, I need that feeling that, like, my first love gave me. I want those butterflies. I want that. And every girl, I mean, we all want that, right? We all want to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like in a long-term marriage or relationship, it kind of changes over time. It's not that, initial butterfly thing.
Yes, I think it's more how it comes about. So, because I think we know, I mean, it can happen. It can in a marriage. It's just, in high school, there's so much that's new, and we're it's in high school, so I don't see him all the time. So therefore, he always looks perfectly groomed, and he's always in a good mood. Well, I see him at school for a few times every day. I don't see him 24/7.
Right.
And I don't have to invest as much and I don't have to be vulnerable. With a career and a goal, the one thing is, with careers and goals, I can pinch off feelings and I get rewarded for it. Hyper focus, drill down, safe, get accomplishments. Like when people overwork, that's one of the benefits, is I don't have to feel and I make more money or accomplish things. I was telling someone in the group the other night, I was giving an example about husband and wife, and I was talking about intimacy. And I just made up an example. I said, imagine he's had a really bad day, just bad day, and someone died or the business is just struggling that day. And I said, he goes in the shower. I said, he's bloodied from effort. I mean, I'm not saying feel sorry for him, but he's just exhausted. I said, go in the shower with him. I said, I don't mean you don't have sex with him. I said, but that's stepping into his pain. That means more to him than you sitting there talking with him for an hour. Because in that moment, all of a sudden, he's not alone and he's vulnerable. Or if he's at the sofa someplace, cuddle up next to him. You don't have to talk. Talking is your thing, not his. So, but see, that's more vulnerable if I just sit there and don't say anything. But because what I want to do is I want to talk like I do with my girlfriends, because that's what I would want. But that makes me feel cool. We're talking, we're sharing, and that's not bad. But that's not stepping into his pain. I mean, I'll tell men the opposite. Just when you listen to her talk. You don't put your hands on her. Just listen to her talk.
Yeah, most men don't like to listen to women talk when they're upset or they want to vent about their day. They don't like that. Well,
that's why I give that example. And I was trying to be really clear. I'm like, when I say step in the shower, I know what wives think. Oh, there's no sheets to hide behind. It's it's just, and that's really vulnerable to do that. That's like, it's not fun and cool like it was, whatever, when first year of marriage or whatever. Now I'm like, it is vulnerable. I said, but that's as vulnerable as he is when he's feeling this. So that's how you connect. In other words, but those getting rid of the boredom is the willingness to take risk, the willingness to care enough about someone else. What is it they need in this moment? I can't always do that.
Mm-hmm.
But bored a lot of times is a sign I'm bored with me because I value safety over intimacy.
Right. Yeah, this could go in a lot of different directions, this conversation, right? You guys on the chat, last week, everybody was talking. I think you guys are really listening today. Please, if you want to come on the show and ask me or Bob a question, we will send you a link to come on, or you can write your question in the chat. We'd be more than happy to answer that. If you have a love topic, or if you have a question for Bob, or if you're like, here's my situation, or you can even say, I'm asking for a friend. Or if you want to come on and not be on video, and we could always take the video off, and we don't have like a voice changer, but we could make you anonymous. But yeah, if you could say, hey, my sister, but it's really you could put, your question in the chat, and we can answer it for you. So yeah, I just find it really fascinating, Bob. Also, let's get to some like a simpler question that somebody wrote in about before. This was last week or the week before on one of our shows. We had a woman who was just like so drained from, she knows that this guy that she has been kind of on and off with for like a long, long time really doesn't have the interest, really doesn't have the desires, kind of like blows her off all the time, doesn't answer the calls, doesn't show up. And she's like, I know he's giving me crumbs, but why can't I get out of the situation? So that's something she had asked. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
So the short answer is because she doesn't want to. I mean, I'm not saying that's that's the quick answer. So when someone says, why can't I? Because you don't want to, which means the part she likes, I don't want to give that up. I'm afraid I won't have this coming in. Whatever the part, he's exciting or he's funny or he's successful, whatever the thing is, because I don't feel that I'm going to get this again, or I'm going to feel this way again. And so therefore, even though there's all this other stuff with it, he takes me for granted, never calls, I'm so afraid of not feeling this again that I will tolerate all this other stuff, because I don't trust that I deserve this, or I don't trust that I'll ever get it again. And it's not the same, but it's similar to I saw a picture years ago in Africa, places that were starving. They would give kids a loaf of bread, a thing of bread. And there were kids that literally starved to death with a piece of bread in their hand, because they were terrified if they ate the bread, they'd never get anything again. And that's similar with this, that I know I should, but if I lose this guy, I'm afraid it's never going to happen again. And the root of it is, going back to the person that was bored or restless, it's the way they see themselves is that they don't deserve to have the love that they want. They don't deserve to be treated well. That they don't. And they've had people that have told them that too, probably. So it's not just them. They've had people that have reinforced and treat them bad. And it is like breaking an addiction, for lack of a better way to put it. And one of the things of breaking addiction is a realization that once I stop doing it, or stop eating sugar, or stop doing, it is a little bit of a withdrawal. I mean, that's why it's better to do it with someone or talk to someone, because we can normalize it. But it doesn't last forever, because I trust that desire they have more than what they see. They really want a relationship. Okay, that's what we want. But if you insist on it's got to be this way, we could do this for years. Literally, we could do this for 15 years. And it really is letting go of that security blanket, because if my hand's full, there's nothing I can put in it. It's full with this guy and whatever, and it's scary to have it open, but only the open hand has a place for the man that you want. It's just scary to have that empty space without someone there.
And why do people, like, after so long in relationships and marriages, like, why, I mean, is it true that if you kind of commit to a long-term situation, like, you won't ever have that experience of that, that euphoria of meeting the new person, of getting excited about that person, getting yourself all dolled up for that person, getting the butterflies. It's like people sometimes just go from person to person to person just to feel that. Like,
yeah, I think the way they're doing it, it would be like someone saying, I have to eat sugar to enjoy food. I'm like, well, that's one way to do it. But some of it is that, like, within a marriage or a long-term relationship, it's more of a conscious effort, because in dating, folks think things happen magically. They don't. The date is planned. We dress up a certain way. It just seems like, oh, it was effortless. Trust me, lady, if you've been on a date where a guy didn't plan, it's awful. I mean, if you want, you really don't want spontaneous. You just want it to feel spontaneous. In the same way with a long-term relationship or a marriage, is that when there's an effort to focus on what the other person really likes, and usually it's one or two things, what is that thing they like, and give them that keeps the spark going. It's not new in the sense of like brand new, but it can be really exciting. There's something about when someone does the thing we really love that means the world. Someone I worked with, she told me an example. We were doing a podcast, and during a break, she said she was lying in bed with her husband and just goofing around, just kind of leaned over and stroked his arm. And he was like, "Oh, don't stop." And she's laughing in her head. She's like, that's what he likes. She's like, "Oh, I can do that." But he didn't know to tell her that
Right.
until that moment happened. So when you find out that thing that they really like and do that, I have found that solves so many problems. It's just a lot of times folks want it to be organic. And why can't you do this? I'm like, let's just do the cheat sheet. Let's just cut to the chase and make this easier.
Mm-hmm. And so, like with your program, the Women Men Adore, is this for people that are single, or for people that are in relationships, or for people in long-term relationships? Who is this program for that you are offering?
If you're a woman, this applies because it's going to, there's different parts of it. And because the idea behind it is some of this stuff I'm assuming or kind of have an idea about. But it really is, when I was thinking about women, the men say there's something about her. What is that quality? And that's what this is about. And it's internally focused, but it is, when we talk in there about putting your heart first. When a woman puts her heart first, men love it. Now, guys that are players and guys that are mean don't like it at all. Mm-hmm. Guys like that don't like it. And that's one of the best ways to keep you from ending up with the wrong person. Because those men want to control, shame, guilt you. When a woman puts her heart first, it's counterintuitive. It's like when I give myself permission to be angry, I don't get angry that often. Or if
Right.
I be sad, I'm hardly ever sad. But tell myself I can't do this, or I can't be weak with a man, or I can't whatever, and that thing's going to be a monster because I'm trying to kill it. And it's as women read it, they're like, oh, see, intuitively when they're like, yes, I never thought to put it this way, but yes. And then there's usually a section or two that stands out the most. And then once they start seeing with men, they're like, this works? Really? And it's one of those you get to experience it and then work your way backwards and go, oh, that's why it works. Okay, so I don't want to leave it to just its theory, but when I'm in there, I'm like, just try this. Don't take my word for it. Just try what's in here.
Right. Now, a couple of years ago, or even last year, I don't even know how long it's been since you've been on last time, but you offered a really cool bonus if somebody bought your program from the lounge tonight. It's an ebook program, right? Or is it an ebook program? You actually get a 15-minute one-on-one call with Bob. If you purchase within the next 24 hours, you get that call. So you just mentioned Marisa, you email in, you mentioned Marissa's show that you got the program. And Bob, he's not a cheap date, I can tell you that. So he charges quite a bit an hour. And so this 15 minutes is about a $200 value. So I'm going to put the link to the program, if you want to take advantage of this bonus, is in the description of the Facebook video and the YouTube video. And I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. Okay, it can't be shared. Okay, well, it's in the description of the video. And after we get off tonight, I will put the link in the chat as well. But we also have a viewer, an audience member who wants to come on. Her name is Megan, and she has a question for Bob. So I'm going to bring her on right now. Hi, Megan. How are you?
Hi. Good. Long time no see, Marisa.
I know it has been. We want to see you. So let me get these banners off here that I have on all over the place. All right, we'll get
my
banner off, and I'll get this live banner off so we can see your beautiful face.
Oh, please.
All right. So, Megan, you have a situation. We love situations. Bob will get in on that, and then I'll do my intuitive thing. So, Bob, go ahead, Megan. What's going on? Tell us.
I don't know. What if you keep trying and there's been things that have hindered you from being in a relationship for like really a long time, like way too long. And what you're trying to do isn't working. And you think just being a good person, but I also have some physical things that I don't know, maybe that just is bad for people. Like I'm an above knee amputee. So as of like, I don't know, 7 years ago. And so what do you do in that case? Like, I mean, because I don't really even know how to go about trying to find somebody anymore.
So how about tonight if we see if we can point you in a direction?
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
Because part of it is, if not just tonight, but if we try to do too much too fast, it just gets discouraging because we're throwing stuff against the wall. So whenever there's a pattern, and we all have them at times, it's not that the pattern makes it like really clear, like you should do this or you should do that. We're looking for just general kind of stuff. So if stuff's difficult and it's been there for a long time, I give women an example. This back part of your brain, I just gave her a name and I call her Esther. And there's this picture I draw like she's a soldier, and her job's to protect you, because this back part of our brain is about breathing, heartbeat. I mean, it's black or white. It's all about survival. It's not about, shades of gray and stuff like that. It's not nuanced like this front part. And it's really powerful. When in doubt, this back part kicks in. And if we're in trouble, it's because part of us thinks, I got to protect her. I got at any cost. And she wants a relationship. That's fine. I'm going to protect her. And it's like an overzealous guardian. I mean, it's not a bad thing, and folks sometimes will say, I need to put Esther in her place. No, Esther's your friend. It's not but part of it is that if I don't stand up for myself, if I don't let myself feel, those things are going to feel uncomfortable at times, but that's how Esther starts to loosen her grip. So if whatever someone does, if it's avoids confrontation or someone avoids taking risk, whatever okay, maybe that's the button. Thank you. It's not like I want them to go out and confront everyone. I'm like, every time we avoid something, we're stuffing. And the problem, the more we stuff, that pinches off part of us. Now, I'm not saying this is easy to change, but if it's, where do I start? I don't know what I'm doing, but what if I just gave myself permission to experiment? Because I know that the more I'm safe at the risk of being shut down, ends up being lonely. And I mean, it is safe, but even lonely, I don't always know that that's safe.
Lonely isn't safe for me anymore.
Okay, it's not safe, and it's not supposed to be. So, and this is where this part with friends, or if it's someone you work with or both, is it's not a stupid problem. And this is really important. It's a clever problem. It's not about someone being lazy. And I tell folks a lot of times, I don't need you to try harder. Please, I don't need that. Because harder just means I'm going to do what I'm doing more often, as much as I'm probably going to need to step. And when I say step out of our comfort zone, I don't mean to run, just step and I'll come back. And if someone's open to it, really what'll happen is opportunities will come, I promise. It's not that you have to find someone as much as, because when I hit that button a minute ago, I wasn't even trying, but I could tell by the look, you were like, okay, so that one, when you have permission, it's okay, that part of me, all right, it's okay for that to come out. I'm an adult, so it doesn't mean it's going to take over. Probably feel scary at times, but it doesn't mean it is scary. It just means it'll feel scary. You're older, you're stronger, you're big, you're an adult now. It's a different thing than feeling this as a child. As a kid, I didn't have options. Now I do. And that's why it's safe to feel it. It may not feel safe, but me being scared now is not the same thing as me being scared at 3. It's the same word, but it's not at all the same thing. I've got so many more options now than I did at 3 years old. Now it's safe to feel. And that willingness to feel is the same way. The weird thing is, as we let ourselves feel internally, we're also opening up to the external too. Now, men aren't going to describe this, but they'll feel it. I said a lot there. Tell me what stands out, please.
You kind of got me in a lot of ways. It is scary. It's scary for me. I've got a bit of external things that maybe some of what you said might not work quite for me right now, because I don't really have my independence at the moment. Again, I will, but I need to have that. I need to. It gets miserable living the way that I'm living, and I want to love somebody, and I want to be able to be somebody that is worthy to be loved and is able to not just be like, a hindrance on somebody, and just, be able to be a partner. And you kind of gave me a little bit of hope there.
Well, that miserable feeling you have, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, really?
It is, because if my knee's hurting, I want it to hurt because there's something wrong. I don't want there to be something wrong with my knee and not hurt. Pain is a good thing. I know it's uncomfortable, but you want it to be uncomfortable. When someone's lonely, that's a good feeling, because that's what stirs us to do something, to take action, to connect with someone.
Yeah.
It is, it's not supposed to be comfortable. So I'm not saying it's a fun feeling, but the worst thing to me is for someone to numb out. Numbing out to me is the worst.
Yeah.
I would much rather have it someone angry or scared or lonely, whatever, than to be numb out. And so when someone feels it,
well, I used to do that to myself a lot, numb myself out, and I think that's part of the reason I'm having a little bit of trouble, is because I don't numb myself out anymore, and it's like, so it's a little much, but I do appreciate it.
Megan, I did have some intuitive things to tell you also that I'm picking up, and it's very random, real weird. I feel like you're a real funny woman. Like, you have this great sense of humor, you have this witty sarcasm, and that part of yourself has been lost for quite some time, right? And you want somebody to share that odd, really weird sense of humor that, like, it's hard to find in somebody else. And I just kept seeing in my mind you being very good at improv comedy. And I want to tell you to go and take an improv class, because I feel like there's like so many technicalities about improvisation. I feel you would absolutely love it, and it would bring you back to your comedy. And I feel like this is kind of like the first step to meeting a community of people that's like you, because I feel like it's real hard for you to connect with just the average bear. You have very deep, like, sense of humor, and and it's like you're witty. You're that part of you I know is in there. And
oh my God,
I just want to tell you that I kept hearing improv comedy, improv comedy, improv comedy.
My dad was the funniest person you ever could have met. Sarcastic, absolutely answer to everything, like, immediately. So it doesn't surprise me a little bit.
So I would get on the internet and be like, where can I? And sometimes it's just like, every Monday night from 7 to 8, you go in to learn an improvisational technique. But there's certain type of people that take those classes, and they're very cerebral, and they're very witty and funny. And it's like a technique that you learn to get out of your head, actually, and into your creativity. So something was telling me to tell you that. I hope I didn't cut you off, Bob. If I did, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to pass the baton.
Oh, okay. Is there anything else you want to ask us, Megan?
No, that's amazing. Thank you.
Did we help you at all?
Yes.
Great.
Yes,
Great.
you did. Both of you.
Awesome.
But who's
Both
better?
of you.
Probably Bob. I'll get Bob. Bob's better.
Bob's better.
He's like the whole Sunday.
Marisa has helped me a few times throughout like a decade, which, but both of you, thank you.
Absolutely. And is there anything else you want to leave with Bob? Or are you good?
No. Thank you, Bob, for giving me some hope.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Bob. Thanks, Megan. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, Bob. Well, you show your stuff all the time on this show. And I want to just let everybody know again that Bob's program, for some reason, YouTube let me post the link in the comments, but Facebook will not. It is in the description of the video. If you want to get Bob's program, The Women Men Adore and Never Want to Leave, through the lounge, click that link, and you will get a 15-minute one-on-one bonus call with Bob. You have to email his office and say, I got the program on Marisa's show. And then they will set you up with the calendar link. And I've had some of my co-hosts have had sessions with Bob. I've talked to Bob myself with some of my personal things. And, that 15 minutes is extremely, extremely informative and valuable. And a lot of people that were on the show last time when Bob was on actually ended up going to him a little bit longer term and said that, the things that he said, even though they may not be implement him, are like magic tools that they didn't know before about men and about love and about themselves. So it's not a one and done. Bob plants the seeds, but it's up to you to cultivate the garden. That was my wisdom.
I like it.
For the day. Yeah. So I'm going to just put this little comment here in the chat that says, go looking for the video, then get in touch with Bob's, then mention Marisa's show. Okay. So on YouTube, for some reason, Facebook won't let me do it, but I'll do it after the show's over. Bob, we're wrapping up, but thank you again. Is there anything else you want to say about your program that people who are watching might be like, oh, that's me. That's something I need?
Probably the biggest thing is, and folks have heard this before, it's not so much about trying harder. I know we said this. I mean, folks try and they try hard. A lot of times it's about trying something different, but also trying something that's worked for other people. I do sports a lot, and I've had people in business, and the thing that they're supposed to do feels strange, just like the thing that they're trying. So it's not supposed to feel familiar. If it feels familiar, you're just doing the same stuff. Mm-hmm. So either I'm going to think more, I'm going to explain more. My favorite one is I'm not going to complain. I'm going to keep it in more. I'm like, please stop doing that. Please stop holding it in. Please stop being like that, because you're giving men the impression you're tougher than you are. And then you fall in love with them, and all of a sudden he's like, what? Why are you talking about emotions? Why are you? And see, it just blindsides him. Well, I don't mean the other extreme, but see, what we're talking about this is, it's not so much how to be. The Woman Men Adore is about being more of who you are. So whether you're chatty or quiet or whatever your personality is, or your height or your shape and all, you become more of who you are. We don't need you to be somebody else. Mm-hmm. The blueprint's already inside of you. Mm-hmm. And the things that we want to let go of are not changing you as much as they're things that you're doing to protect yourself that are getting in the way. And so I found with folks, as they go through this, they become more authentic, more genuine. And sometimes they just don't have a lot of energy, and that's fine. Sometimes they're really giddy. That's fine too. We really want to get away from how should I be acting? How should I be talking? I mean, I've got stuff like that, but those are fun things. This is core stuff. This is stuff that actually makes an impact on your life now until. Mm.
Yeah, I could tell you that the people I know who bought your program, that watched the show, they were high achieving women, and women who had it going on in all other areas of their life, very successful. And it's like, so they question themselves, like, how could I be so successful in these areas of life and this one pie chart area it's like every single time I get into the next one, it's like worse and worse and worse. Like, what's going on? How can I be so smart and so like clueless? Like in this. So this program and a call with you should answer some of those questions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, we hope, like as usual, Bob, to have you on again whenever you'd like to come on. We love having you on. And I know our viewers, when they're quiet and they're not chatting in the chat, it means they're listening. So I think they've been paying close attention. So I just want to give you a little bit of a plug here as well. Let's see. Okay, so this is Bob Grant, relationship co-author coach. Now he also has a Facebook group. So if you guys go on to Facebook to groups, his Facebook group that you could join is the Women Men Adore group. And
we'd love to have you.
You go on live, you do stuff, you talk, answer questions. So please connect with Bob on Facebook as well.
It's a great group of women.
All right. Well, we thank you for coming to the lounge this Friday night, and we love having everybody here. So, Bob, thank you so much for coming and for answering all of these vulnerable questions. You're awesome, and we can't wait to have you back on.
Thanks. It's always a pleasure being here.
All right. Have a great day, guys. Happy weekend. Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.